Warning: the following contains explicit language and subject matter that may not be suitable for younger listeners, church folk, and people who enjoy kale smoothies.
So why not just tell me?
Okay, fine. It was 10 years ago. I was at a gas station, and I noticed a guy at the next pump. It was Denzel Washington.
Hold up. It actually was Denzel?
Yeah. It was just this crazy thing that happened. And in a weird way, it made me realize the only person I ever want to be with is you.
Nah. I don't believe it.
Oh, you... Okay, well, I took a picture with him at the club. I put it in a hidden folder. Denzel and Michelle.
Yeah, baby, that's not Denzel.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. Dude looks a lot like Denzel, but it's not him.
You're crazy. Look at that. That's Denzel.
Okay, let me ask you this. Did he say he was Denzel?
Well, no. He tried to introduce himself, and I cut him off because I told him I knew who he was.
What kind of car did he drive?
A BMW. 3 Series.
What was his place like?
It was a 2-bedroom condo. And he used the spare room as an office.
Do you hear what you're saying right now?
Hold on, let me see.
When you zoom in, the nose gives it away, right?
God damn.
Look, don't beat yourself up about it, okay? There is some good news. If you want to get with Denzel, he's standing right here. Because the real Denzel ain't got shit on me.
Welcome back to A Pod Amongst Men. I'm your host, Steve B., a.k.a. Oroku Saki Bomb, a.k.a. Papa Doc Holiday. I'm here. I have some guests today. I was going to bring one guy on the show, but we got to his house, and his lovely lady, we couldn't resist but have her, chime in and give her opinions on some of these topics. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves for me?
Hey, how you doing, everybody? My name is Shamoir Griffin, a.k.a. Mighty Moore, and I'm here with my lovely fiance, and here she is.
My name's Alexcia, soon to be Griffin, aka Lex Marie, if we want to get technical. But I'm glad that you invited me in.
Yeah, we're extremely thrilled to be here.
Listen, like I said, I love having couples on because we get both sides of the arguments. You know what I mean? Because I know as guys, we like to. Some of us are very, I don't want to say hard-headed, but for lack of a better term, hard-headed. We believe what we believe. This is the way things are, and sometimes, not often, we need to be taken down a peg. So it always helps to have the people. Sometimes. That's not often. Yeah. Let me just be clear. But it always helps to have the people that know us the best.
Yeah.
Right.
At least that way it's coming from a place of love.
Right.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Hey, listen. I'm sure you guys can attest, just like I can. When you live with somebody, you spend that much time with them. You might love them with everything you got in you, but they know how to press your buttons. They know how to get under your skin better than anyone else.
Get on the last nerve that you have left.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
It just happens. It's just part of being around somebody for that much time,
Uh-huh.
So why don't we start off with a little background? So how long have you guys actually known each other? Like before you were even dating, anything? Like how did you guys meet?
All right, we went kind of fast. Our process was a little accelerated.
Kind of.
Yeah, we met doing a gospel stage play.
Okay.
And it was just, I had ended up just going to church one day. The choir director was actually, he's the director of a production company called Get Right Entertainment.
Okay.
And he asked me if I was interested in doing some acting. I had never done anything like that before, so I just, a new opportunity. So I was
he discovered you.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like the way you see when you're a kid. I want some talent scout to discover me.
I was already with the company. I did a production with them the year before, and that production they wanted Shamoir to join in. I was supposed to be in the same production. I was fighting it all the way through. I did not want to do it. I was in Florida, living my best life, and they would not let it die down. This had to be September of 2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we never really met up until October because he was at the first rehearsals. I didn't want to come back from Florida. I finally came back around the end of September. And he wasn't at the rehearsal on my first rehearsal. So I'm like, okay, this is just a normal rehearsal. Just get through it. The next rehearsals, we meet in the car.
Yeah, we rode with the director. He met us at a spot.
Okay.
And then I ended up getting in the car, and then a person I had never seen before was in the car. So I was like, okay, whatever. And
he, I don't know if this is too much information, but he smelled like something that's, illegal. And I said, this Jersey City hooligan getting in the car with us. This is so unprofessional. I just had my judgments going, but I never looked at him.
Okay.
We didn't look at each other. We just was in the car making these judgments about each other before we even got to our destination. And then, long story short, we saw each other and it was like, oh, okay. It's not that bad.
I didn't look at her.
He's kind of cute.
Yeah, I didn't look at her the entire car ride. But literally from the beginning of the car ride, they just started discussing, certain topics. So I had to, chime in, give my 2 cents. Next thing you know, literally for the entire duration of the car ride, me and her just going at it. It became like, an inclusive conversation to now it's just me and her. And then, I formed my opinions about it, had my judgments. I was like, oh boy, she's a liberal.
This was around the Kaepernick take a knee situation.
Okay.
So I had my choice words for him.
Yeah, that was definitely one of those situations where everybody picked a side.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we happened to be on two totally opposing sides. And she was calling me every name in the book.
We don't have to discuss the names.
She was calling me every name in the book. Like, she hated me. And I wasn't too fond of her either. But, as rehearsals went on, we started to look forward to the car rides because we knew, like, okay, we about to get into I would go home and do research because I was like, I'm about to come back and hit her with the facts.
Same.
I'm about to just, prove her completely wrong so she won't have anything else to say. And
Same.
then it just was an ongoing thing. And then,
literally, we hated each other, but we couldn't stop thinking about each other.
Yeah. Okay.
We was like, I want to prove him wrong about certain situations, but at the same time, I'm like, I wonder if he's thinking about me too while I'm thinking about him, about thinking about smashing him.
You met your match.
Right. I've never been able to have an intellectual conversation with someone of the opposite sex the way we were having, and it was something completely new to me. And I think that's what intrigued the both of us to each other more than anything, regardless of our opposing views.
Yeah, she it was strange because I guess what appealed to me about her was the fact that she challenged me. Even though we disagreed on pretty much everything, but it seemed like she was she did her due diligence and she was well researched when it came to the things that she felt as though she was passionate about. And, we were able to exchange literally for hours nonstop. And that's something that I've never experienced before.
It's hard to find that.
Yeah.
Even with people who are, well-read, well-researched, they know what they're talking about. It's hard to be able to have a conversation with somebody who thinks differently than you where it doesn't become, a screaming match or you're at each other's throats.
At
it's
times
just
it did. At times it did.
Apparently not that bad if we're sitting here right now,
No, but there were moments where, I remember one instance where, we had got dropped off, to go our separate ways. I'm heading to my car. She was heading to her car. But before, she had got so upset with me. She ended up just storming out, slamming the door. She was like, oh, my God, you're so stupid. And I was like, you can't play the victim your whole life. And I'm just laughing it off, and she was pissed.
But we've learned to debate with each other. We learned that I'm more of an emotional debater. Just, I guess, I don't want to say that's how all women are, but let's just say it.
There's a commonality there.
Women are more emotional, and he's more logical. He's black and white. There's no gray area. So we had to learn how to agree to disagree. And literally, it was 2 weeks, back to how we met, it was 2 weeks of us basically battling each other out before he asked me on a first date. He asked me on the first date, and a week later, we ended up in a relationship. A year later, we're engaged. Wow.
So it was a little accelerated.
So
that happens.
Yeah, and it's been nothing but amazing just to have someone I can talk to on higher levels than what happened on, the shade room.
Yeah. No, that goes a long way. I mean, I think it's not always so much if you have somebody you can necessarily have the intellectual conversations with, but it's somebody who has to be on the same level as you. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to be able to have disagreements and agreements on the same things. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just be, oh, babe, did you watch the news today? And she's like, oh, well, I was too busy. The Kardashians were on. Mm-hmm. So that's not going to work. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So at least you guys are, even if you're on opposing sides, you could still have that conversation. Yeah. You could kind of fulfill each other intellectually and not just emotionally, physically, all that. That's big. And that's a lot harder to find than I think people realize.
Yeah. The main common denominator with us was that regardless of our political differences, the main thing that kept us together and that kept us intrigued is our love for God.
Okay.
So us both being on this spiritual journey to becoming closer to God, regardless of what we had going on in our debates, we always had that common denominator.
That was always the foundation.
Yeah, that's big.
Kept us, I guess, strong, because it's stronger than previous relationships. You go on forever, and it's never been as strong as it is when I've met him 2 weeks, and a year later now we're engaged, and I feel like I've known him my whole life. So,
me and my wife, we actually met in New Orleans. She's from Miami. Well, she's actually from Cuba. Excuse me, but she was living in Miami, and I'm from up here. We were in New Orleans on I was there for my friend's bachelor party, and she happened to be there the same weekend for her best friend's bachelorette party. So we met, and it was kind of like whatever, like we got exchanged numbers, but nothing happened. And then about 2 months later, she was coming to New York for just a trip with her girls, and she said, "Hey, I'm going to be in town. Would you be interested in meeting up?" I said, "Yeah." And then, by the way, you can curse on here. Oh, I got this thing all messed up.
Yeah, we're going to try to refrain from the profanity.
Yeah, no, we'll keep it, for God's ears.
Yeah. I mean, you by all means, don't let us stop you from doing you.
No. I'm not good. I can control myself. I have a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I know how to turn it on and off.
Man, listen, baby, you want to bring it out you. About to cuss you a little bit.
You just wait. Your daughter's what, 2 now?
She's 3.
She'll
3?
She'll be 4.
It doesn't get any better. My son, I love him with all my heart, but sometimes, I have a thing. Like, I'd be sitting on the couch, I'll be working on the computer, and he'll come up and he thinks it's funny. He'll try to tickle my foot, and it tickles. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, when somebody tickles me like that, and especially him, I'm like, you made me twitch like that. Yeah. It gets me really upset. Like, don't you stop? Just stop.
Makes you vulnerable.
Yeah, I feel too vulnerable like that, and my wife thinks it's hilarious, so they always do it. And
she does this thing where she stiffens her fingers and sticks her hand in my neck and it just makes me cringe up. And, oh man, it stops me right in my tracks. Like whatever I'm doing, I'll just buckle.
My wife's favorite thing is she sticks her finger just a little bit in my nose and then tries to go directly in my mouth with it.
That's his thing for me. I hate it.
I can't stand it. I do that. She gets me so worked up like that. So before you guys met, before you were in a relationship, would you say I know for me, I was in a lot of short relationships. It took me a month or two to realize whether or not I like somebody. Yeah. And in most cases, I ended up not liking them. Mm-hmm. Or were you, I know a lot of people are serial monogamous. They just go from relationship to relationship and long term, they never get a chance to be single. What would you guys say you each were?
Me personally, I would say that I had my phases, but I would say at the core of who I am, I'm definitely serial monogamous. I crave companionship with one person. And, I've been in situations where I've been in, long-term relationships, but, from the result of those relationships and the traumatic effect that it had on me kind of caused me to refrain from relationships for a long time.
They often have that effect.
Yeah, so,
I can attest to that.
Yeah, I was just single and I was just, doing my thing for a while. And then after, however so many different people, it just got boring. And then I started to crave, that companionship again, but like not just any companionship, but substantial companionship, where it was meaningful, and it wasn't just, based upon, physical attraction.
You good.
It was deeper. And then I found that with her for the first time in a very long time. And not only could we bond on a intellectual level, we could bond on a spiritual level. So I was like, this is something that I don't want to let go. So that's why I feel like the process between us was a little bit accelerated, because it was on a different level than I had ever experienced before. So I was like, yeah, this one, I'm keeping this one.
I've always been that I want a fairy tale relationship girl. So like even from like
you
high school,
you get along with my wife same way.
I've always just wanted to have that high school sweetheart and be in a relationship forever. Of course that doesn't work, but I've always wanted to have that fairy tale, like that love story that makes people choke up and cry. I've never been the girl to jump from person to person. I was taught, it was basically hammered into my head, my body's a temple and not everybody can enter. So that's just been my life growing up. And my previous relationship, it was a very, very long one, but because I was so afraid to be in that lifestyle of going from person to person before I find someone that's actually worth it, I stayed.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of girls, I think, situation too.
I think it's a lot of people's situation.
A lot of yes, definitely a lot of people. I know men are a little bit stronger than women when it comes to that.
Some men.
I think that men are stronger in terms of if a female cheats on a guy, they're a lot quicker to leave that female than if a male is to cheat on a female. The female gives a lot more chances than the male is.
That's very true.
So that's my standpoint on that. But
I have to give you that one.
Yeah.
So that's why I was saying, like, females, we tend to stay in that situation because we're so afraid. Well, some of us are so afraid to be alone and be by ourselves. He just so happened to come at the right time, and like you said, we connected on a spiritual level, an intellectual level, and a physical level. He's cute. He's kind of cute.
Yeah.
And
she's I like her.
just
Listen, gain some points now. keep it going.
that's just how it's been. Now, this is my last relationship. This is my fairy tale.
It's a good starting point. Get that in your head already.
I only plan on, getting married one time. And I said before I got with her, we laid it all out on the table. We spoke for hours just on, the important things, just, feeling each other out. What's your view on this? How do you feel about this? Just to make sure that we ironed everything out. There was no confusion. I told her, I said, look, I don't plan on, dating and not taking it seriously. Like, the next relationship I get into is going to be my last relationship. I do not play around when it comes to this stuff. So
yeah, he hit me quick. He said, I want to get married. You in it or you not?
Yeah. She was on the same page.
Straight like that. And I was like, this offer don't come around all the time. So I'm on board. Let's do this. We're doing this.
But you know what though? That's a tough one, because a lot of times when you're in a newer relationship, you care so much about making the person think highly of you. You care about their opinion of you, so you kind of temper your responses to things. So like, maybe I won't say exactly how I feel. Like, I won't give her 100% of what I'm really thinking about that, because you want them, you don't want them to
you don't want to scare them away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's tough, because when you want to put it all out on the table like that, you have to go all the way or not at all.
Yeah.
Especially when you guys are gonna move fast, when you're gonna make.
Sorry, I live in the hood.
Nah, it's all good. This is not the hood.
Not the hood.
This is. I've been in a few hoods in my time.
I told him, look, this is not the hood. We are downtown.
It may not appear to be the hood, but the people.
This is not the hood.
Okay.
There's entirely too many trees around here for this to be the hood.
Yeah, but no, like when it comes to that, like I wasn't interested, because she was doing the same thing. She laid it out on the table for me too. It was like, I'm not playing no games. For me, I don't want my time wasted, nor do I want to waste your time. I was like, all right, cool. So, and I feel as though if two people are being genuine and they're not hiding who they are, then, there should be no confusion. Because, people will be with somebody for like 8 years and they still won't ask this person to marry them. It's like, what are you waiting for? Like, you're not, of course, you're going to find out maybe small things about the person that, you probably not probably, that you can work with and you'll get over it. But after 8 years, you know someone pretty much in and out.
If you live with them, absolutely.
Yeah. And, but if you're both being genuine with one another, then I don't feel as though you have anything to worry about. But if you're not being genuine, that's, I think, when you have a problem.
Yeah. Well, it's tough that when you live with someone for that long, and you get to know them, even if you're someone who's very private and very secretive about your own flaws and your own demons and things you do, all the stuff you keep in the closet. That's going to come out eventually.
Yeah,
from living with somebody that long enough, it's going to find its way out. So you can try to hide it, but you're better off just coming forward. Like, listen,
lay it all out on the table.
This is what I do. Okay, this is how I behave when between the hours of 7 and 11.
Yeah, you okay with that?
Yeah, you're gonna have to get on board.
Yeah.
All right, so this is, since we're talking about this, I don't know. I mean, whatever you guys feel comfortable sharing, but I know everybody has their little pet peeves. Things with their partners that they each drive each other crazy with, like, little things. I'm not talking about relationship ending. That's what I mean. I don't want you to divulge anything that could potentially be used against you.
Nah, you're fine.
In a later situation. But I mean, for instance, I didn't realize certain things that I did that my wife called me out on, and at first I was like, "Yo, like, what are you talking about? There's no way I do that. Like, that's messed up that you would even say that." And then you have to think, shit. Do I really do that? Because at first there's that protection, I would never do anything like that. And you realize, like, yeah, I mean, I kind of do. The pieces fit. And then the trick at that point is to be able to own up to those things.
Yeah.
Especially if you could admit, like, all right, I understand what you're saying. I see where you're coming from. That's something I have to work on. Those 3 little phrases there are some of the hardest things to say. Yeah. Because it's, it's almost like you're admitting defeat.
Right. Exposing yourself.
Yeah. It's tough, and you really got to be with somebody that you trust, and you trust that they're not going to try to, bring it up later and use it against you. Like, they accept the fact that you're willing to work on something about yourself. Right. And that they're bringing it up to your attention is actually coming from a good place, not just like to attack you. Yeah. So what are some things that you guys have any little, like, recurring arguments? Like the same things, like, I can't believe you left your underwear on the bathroom floor. Like, just little things.
I mean, for us, like, for her personally, I know I have things that annoy her that I have to work on within myself, and but we communicate about these things. We talk about these things. We're going through premarital counseling now, and that's pretty much the basis of the counseling, is to do that. It's to look at yourself through the perspective of someone else's eyes. Because if you're looking at yourself, for years and years, you just think that the things that you do are normal. But now that you're, joining your life with someone else's, they're going to be revealing things about you that may not necessarily be normal, or could annoy them. And if that's the case, then you have to acknowledge those things and change them so that, you can have, peace within your relationship. And my thing with her, what she already knows, is, just the communication. Me, I'm the type of person to where I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. I don't say things that I don't mean, not even, jokingly.
Yeah. If I said it, it's because that's what I believe.
That's what I believe. I don't leave out any details because I want my point to be articulated to you as best as it possibly can, so that we can be on the same page. She just does things. She'll just say things, vaguely, and expect me to, put the pieces together and fill in the rest. I don't do that. I feel like we're adults. We should just, do everything. But she's just like, like, come on, did I really have to tell you that? I'm like, kinda, yeah.
I'm not good at hints.
I'm not good at hints, because like me, I just like to give it to people, outright, completely, so that, you understand. And then she's just like, you should have figured that out. Like, you didn't put this together. You didn't see me doing this. Like, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to that. Like, I listened to the words that come out of your mouth, and that's what I'm going to go with. So that's my only thing with her. Other than that, she's awesome.
Yeah.
What about you, Alexcia?
He's not gentle. And this is what I mean by gentle.
Elaborate on that.
I'm touching her shoulder softly right now.
No. You're not giving her the goon hand. You know what I mean? Where you end up with that weird bruise on the back shoulder. You think you're smiling, but you're squeezing the arm real tight.
No, I mean, piggybacking off what I said in terms of how we view things, he's more of a logical standpoint and I'm more of emotional. There's certain situations that, you know, happen with us where I'm emotionally, I guess you can say, distraught about it. And he won't be able to see it because it's like, this is what it is. And so what? And I'm like, it's not so what. Can you not see what it's doing to me? Can you just be a little sympathetic, regardless of how you feel about it at the moment? You see how I'm reacting to this situation. So practicing gentleness with certain situations that he knows that I'm a little bit more passionate about than he is where I mean, he's working on it.
I am. I'm working.
But
I use
it
the
was
opportunity.
bad.
I use the opportunities where, you know, they're brought to the forefront, and it's like, okay, you're being a douche, and then I'm like, all right, cool. Now let me use this as an opportunity to practice being gentle, and then that's what I do.
Do you find that you're like very blunt with people?
I'm extremely blunt with people.
Yes.
That's something it's tough because, you know, learning how to express what you're saying without, you know, dropping a bomb on people. Like, you don't have to use a hammer all the time. You know, there's other tools in your toolkit you can use.
I'm learning.
It's hard. No, listen, it doesn't come natural to everyone.
A small example. This is like very, very minor to what I'm actually talking about, but it was on my brain. There was a kitten that got hit in the street right in our parking spot. And I was so emotional because I have a soft spot for animals and I wanted to like get the little kitten out of the street so nobody would roll over it trying to pull in. No, we're not touching it. Fine. We come back the next day and the kitten is smushed to smithereens. And I was so hurt. And I was like, I told you I wanted to move it. And he's like laughing in my face. And I'm like, can you not see that I'm emotional right now? This is not the time. He's like, okay. And then he was like, okay, I guess this is the time where I practice gentleness. So he switched it up really quickly and was like, okay, I apologize that we didn't get to move the cat, but you know,
he didn't feel a thing.
Right. That's just a small.
That's messed up.
I was so hurt. It was so sad. Anyway, we're not going back.
She was upset about the kitten.
You killed it.
It was so small. It's like we can literally just scoop it and we don't have to touch it with our hands, but we can get it out of the street so it doesn't get his brain smushed like it eventually did.
I don't like touching dead things. Even if I'm holding something, you know, because when you're holding something, that becomes an extension of yourself, and you can still feel it. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to. It's gross.
It's weird.
It's gross.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I had a dog that died one time, and when we found him dead, like I didn't even want to pet him. Because it's just like, it's dead. It's dead.
Yeah.
Like, I know I love the dog, but
it's rather move it when it's whole than move it when its brains and its intestines is squirted all on the floor.
Yeah, that's.
It's like
that's
I
not
don't want
to
to see that.
Yeah.
I wanted to prevent that.
Yeah.
And the way I was looking at it was, I'm like, look, I've seen many a dead cats in the street, you know, and every time I've seen it, someone else always did it.
Not this
you know,
time.
and that's. No, it was gone after it got smushed a couple more times, but 2 days later it wasn't there anymore, and I was like, "See, you just got to be patient. It'll disappear." It's not up to me.
The damn birds probably got it.
That's a small, very small example of one of the situations where I'm emotional about it, and he's like, "Ha, so what?"
Yeah, and I guess that speaks to the differences between men and women. Like, we're not inclined to look at things emotionally. Like, I mean, we can, but I think our first reaction, like our nature, just compels us to look at things rationally and logically and a little less empathetically.
You're touching on something that it's very interesting. Do you think that it's really in our nature as men to not be emotional in that sense, or do you think it's something that we're taught through society? Because keep in mind, there's not all men. You know, men and women aren't monoliths. They're all over the spectrum in terms of, you know, whether you're real tough or very sensitive, and you can go either way. I know plenty of couples where the man is a softie and the woman is like, yo, toughen up. Like, man up. We got stuff to do, I know. We can't be stopping for every kitten.
Yeah.
But
I believe that we're programmed that way. I believe
programmed
that
genetically or societally?
Genetically.
Okay.
I believe that, you know, that's the way that we were designed. Let me not say that. I think that we were created that way. I think that we were designed to look at the world in that manner and in that fashion, because I think, no offense, to, women or anything, but I think that makes you, being able to look at things and analyze situations rationally and logically, I think that makes you a more fit leader, because there's going to be situations to where you're faced with a decision to where if you look at it emotionally, it could cost you dramatically. And if you look at something like, oh, what if we consider this? It could put you in a worse situation than the one you're in now. So if you rule all of the emotional stuff out and you look at it rationally, I think that 9 times out of 10, I think that'll take you to the best place, as opposed to looking at it emotionally, because there's too many variances when you look at things emotionally. There's too many, possibilities that can come about as opposed to looking at it either this way or this way. I understand the situation sometimes call to be emotional. I'm not that good at finding out which ones do.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
I think it's definitely a balance. I think sometimes you have to make tough, rational decisions.
Yeah.
But there's other times when you need to be able to empathize with people, especially if you want to be in a position of leadership.
Yeah.
Like, you need to understand the people that you plan on leading. You can't just be, this is it and this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
You need to use a balance of both. And as human beings, I think as men, we're kind of taught to cut off certain parts of how we are as just humans. Like, to not feel certain emotions is you're literally putting yourself in a box. Like, as men, you're only allowed this. You can only do this, and this, and everything else that's for women and kids. And I think for a lot of men, it really creates like a kind of like a problem. You get stuck in this box, and you don't know how. There's something wrong. There's something you're not expressing, but you don't know what it is, and you can't just go talk about it because that's not what men do. You know what I mean? I think we limit ourselves as people sometimes as men. Like, there's no reason you can't be strong and stoic and do what you got to do and handle business, but also have the softer side. They don't always have to be presented at the same exact time. There's situations that call for them. I just think that with the way our roles are in society was from a long time ago when the world was different, when men, you literally needed to be that strong. Don't show any emotion because that'll get you killed. You know what I mean? But this is not the world we live in nowadays. So I think for a lot of guys, you see a lot of like angry guys nowadays. It's almost because I think they just don't know where they fit in. They're taught all this stuff that maybe no longer applies. What do you guys think of that?
I definitely think it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit in terms of that's genetically how men are created, and I do believe that a lot of it is taught. Like, for example, I fall on the ground, I cry, my dad, it's okay, wipes my tears, helps me up. My little brother falls, he cries, get up, don't cry. You're not supposed to cry. You're a big boy. You're a big boy. So you keep, teaching them that. Eventually now we have this thing where men are afraid to cry. They don't want to cry because over time you keep getting told you're a man, you're a big boy, you don't cry. It's like, okay, I'm not supposed to cry, meaning when I'm feeling something sad, I can't cry. I'm not going to talk about it because now it's going to give me the urge to cry, which I can't do. So I'm just going to hold it in. And you just hold it in, and you hold it in, and now you got these angry men walking around because they're harboring all these feelings that they don't know how to properly handle.
Bottled up.
So it's like a mixture of both creation and being taught that. So
I think it's truth in that. But I think we have to distinguish between, a man being emotional and a man being in touch with his emotions. I think that's two different things.
You're right.
Because if you have an overly emotional man,
what are you crying all the time
exactly.
for?
Like if you see a little boy, fall and scrape his knee, you tell him to get up. Even if he sits there and cries, that's not a problem. But if you see a grown man fall and scrape his knee and he starts crying, it's like, come on, bro, are you serious?
It could hurt.
Of course, a lot of things hurt, but as a man, it's just certain things. Like if I saw a grown man crying, I would expect him. I would be like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
But if I saw a grown man fall, I would expect him to just get up, brush it off, and go on about his day. Little kid, he can do either or, and it's not a problem. But being in touch with your emotions, I think, is two totally different things. Because, as a man, I think in order to be in touch with your emotions, that allows you to articulate what you're feeling so that you can communicate your message effectively.
Absolutely.
If you can't, be in touch with your emotions, then you can't communicate.
Yep.
So you have to know, like, okay, look, I'm feeling this way because of this. And this is how I would like it to be done, moving forward so that, we can resolve the problem. You know, but if you're just mad and you're grunting and screaming, you know, you're probably not communicating your emotions effectively.
Yeah, a lot of guys don't know how to just get it out because they're afraid of that vulnerability.
Yeah.
That's why they have to go to the bar and drink, or they have to,
Yeah.
you know,
They suppress it.
yeah, they walk in and drop kick the dog or something like that. But that's the problem, is that a lot of times we're limited as men, and our tools are taken away from us as just as humans. Like, we're not taught how to deal with some of this stuff that's just normal for a human being to deal with. And I think that's that's a problem that as men that we're going to have to come to terms with at some point,
Right?
because it's just going to get harder and harder if we don't.
Yeah.
And then the next generations are going to learn from men who are in an even more uncomfortable situation. So
A never-ending cycle.
Yeah.
Lord willing, if I have a son, in the future, I have to be sure to teach him that. You feel me? Not to be too emotional, but to be in touch with their emotions. So I think that's really important distinguishment.
yeah, and also, I mean, if you saw a grown man fall and like skin his knee, maybe if it was like a slight man, very slim, and a little more
the white meat
on
could be showing.
Yeah,
That's painful.
The white
a tear would drop, and I wouldn't think he's over emotional.
Nah, you gotta do. Nah.
No, number one, I'm saying this tongue in cheek. I'm joking a little bit. I mean, if you saw some big dude fall, it's just,
The first thing you would
Come
think,
on,
this
man.
guy's big for nothing.
Yeah.
Like, he's a waste.
And as women, don't tell me that you guys wouldn't look at him like, what the hell kind of man is this?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to date him.
Excuse me, I don't want the both of you to speak for me.
I'm just saying,
I admit I'm making an assumption.
If I were to see a big guy fall on the floor and scrape his knee and it hurts and he's like a little emotional about it, I'm not going to be like, ha, you fell, you're big for nothing. I'm like, are you okay? I mean, if he does it right, that could be his pickup line. He could fall in front of a nice girl just because he knows that girls are emotional and we're going to go check on him. So he could be smart.
But we're establishing that this guy's crying.
Yeah, right.
Like, openly weeping.
Yeah, like, how far are you trying
I mean,
to get?
I see the wheels turning right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say I'm not going to chuckle a little.
Well, listen, we're not even saying we would laugh at the guy. We would just expect a
I
little
would
more
laugh.
from him.
I get it.
I would laugh.
get it.
I'm sorry, I would laugh.
He would definitely laugh.
I would laugh so
He
hard.
laughed.
You laughed at the dead kitten.
Yes.
I did.
You laugh at everything, man.
I did.
A little kid falls.
I did.
Ha ha ha! He's got to get back up
What I say
anyway.
is, like, when it comes to
I'm not falling in front of you. I'm not tripping and
Don't.
falling at
Please
work.
don't.
Nothing.
Please don't.
Please don't.
I gotta watch
Please
myself
don't.
now.
Look, because when it's certain things, like if a little kid falls, I'm not gonna go and even with our child, when she falls, I don't rush to her aid. Oh my God, baby, you okay? That's not me, because for one, she's gonna fall 1,000 more times, and I'm not always gonna be there to pick her up. And it's not me being hard and just not caring. Of course I care, but if I see that she's not dying or she doesn't need to be rushed to the emergency room, it is that kind of like conditioning to where this is preparing you for life. Life is going to knock you down, and then no one's gonna be there all the time to be like, hey, are you okay? So therefore, if I constantly do that, then I'm doing her a disservice.
It is
Yeah,
a huge difference at the playground compared to when little kids fall and they're wailing at the top of their lungs and she falls and she's like
Yeah, that right there is that's a prepared human being. She's gonna be good, because when life comes and punches you in the gut, mommy and daddy aren't always gonna be there, so
That's our job as parents, is to get them ready for when we're not there.
exactly. And then people seem to think they lose sight of that. They see the kid fall. Oh my God, they're there. They're picking them up. They're carrying them. Get up and walk. Because if I'm not there, what are you gonna do? You're going to be helpless, and you're not gonna know where to go. And that means that I failed you as a parent.
Yep.
I didn't prepare you for the world that you're going to face. So,
What is that? Where is that bass coming from? Is that one of the apartments or that's somebody's car?
oh, that's the apartment downstairs.
okay.
Yeah.
it's gonna get
All the
picked up.
time.
Yeah, probably. That's right. Our listeners are cool, right, guys? They won't be
hope
bothered by it.
I
Yeah.
hope so.
That's right. I could probably edit most of it out anyway.
Okay.
Some
Little
some
background
of it,
music.
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys, like I said, have a 3-year-old daughter. What are some? What are some of the most important pieces of advice that you think, or not even advice, but some of the values that you would like to? What is going on out there?
My flower.
It's a landscaping crew.
It's okay. It's okay.
My daughter.
It's a good save. You got it.
It's safe.
All right. What was that? 39.5. I'll edit that out.
All right.
But so yeah, what are some of the lessons that you value more than others that you want to impart on her? Because I know every parent has certain things that they want to drill into their kid. Mm-hmm. You know, like with my son, I want to teach him self-reliance. Because right now, you know, my wife's family is Cuban, and you know they're a little notorious for babying the boys. And I'm trying to teach him, like, listen, man, there's not always going to be someone there to wipe your butt for you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, there's not always going to be abuelo and abuela there to come get you milk and cereal.
Yeah.
You need to learn to do things for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to make it and, you know, make something of yourself in this world, you have to have a little independence, a little self-reliance.
Exactly.
So, and he's only 8, so there's only so much I'm going to teach him right off the bat. But, like, what are some big things for you guys?
I was going to say independence. That's the most important thing, you know, because you don't want to prepare them for life with you. Because at the end of the day, this is your child. You're going to leave the world before they do. And your job is to prepare them for that time when you're no longer there. Even when you are there, you want to set them up so that, you know, when they choose to go off on their own, they're okay. You want to, you know, prepare them so that when it comes, you know, to the difficulties that life will bring, they're prepared, that they don't buckle. You know, they need to witness you being strong. They need to witness you handling what it is that you have to handle so that, you know, when they're faced with the situations that life will bring their way, they know how to handle it.
Yeah, the kid's going to learn a lot more from watching you than from hearing you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, you could tell them everything in the world, but until they see you do it, it's not going to stick.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why, you know, I feel like, you know, with men and women, I feel like, you know, the design, you know, that we're built with is made to complement each other, especially, and that's why I feel like the man and the woman both need to be in the home. Because as the father, you know, I stress that. And, you know, as the mother, as the nurturer, you know, she doesn't really, you know, place too much emphasis on that. You know, if she falls, you know, she's the one who's there. So sometimes I have to kind of, you know, grab her by her shirt, like, no, stay back, let her get up on her own. You know, because she has to learn that every time. And then the first thing she does when she falls, that she looks towards us. And we're just sitting there looking at her. What are you going to do? You know, and then I mean, she's thinking like, oh my gosh, she's going to think that we're abandoning her. No, we're not. You know, we're strengthening her right now, whether she knows it or not. She's going to be fine.
Well, that's also like one of the little parenting hacks. Like, when you have a little kid like that, if they fall and, like, you know, they hit their head on something, they only react when they see you react. Like, unless they're really hurt, like, if you like, don't go over, rush over to her. Just let her say, "Oh, I think it's normal, and she's fine." And they look up, like, "Am I okay?" Oh, nobody's getting up. I must be okay.
That was honestly the hardest pill for me to swallow when we were first, I guess, training her for this, because my instinct was to not like, oh my gosh, to scare her to start crying, but it was to, you know, wipe her off, pick her up, do, you know, what a mother should do when their child falls. And, you know, now that we're trying to teach her independence, I'm always battling myself like, oh, well, they think I'm not a good mom because I didn't run to her aid you know, right just then, or am I doing okay by not, you know, going right to her? But majority of the time, literally all of the times that she falls and she looks back at me, she smiles and she goes back to playing. So it's like, okay, I guess this is working. I guess it was worth it, the first few arguments we had, because I wanted to go to her aid and he's like, no. And I'm like, you're not letting me be a mom.
He's like, you're being a jerk. She is crying right now. I'm like, but she's not dying. Leave her alone.
It was a struggle. That was another, I guess, hurdle we had to cross over in terms of learning how to raise a child together. So we did battle a little bit, but then as I saw her progress, I was like,
yeah. And when it came to, like,
I guess this is working.
Yeah. For example, when it came to, you know, getting her to sleep in her own bed. That was a struggle.
Oh my God, that's a tough one.
That was a struggle because of the fact that, for one, they were so, you know, emotionally attached to sleeping in the same place with each other. Once we moved her a few feet over, she's wailing for like 3 hours, and it's to the point where, you know, she starts crying. She's like, "Oh my God, we're depriving her of, you know."
The backstory is, before I met Shamoir, I was a single mother. and it was just me and her. Since she was in my stomach when I had her, it's literally just been me and her. I wasn't working. I was staying with my mom at the time until a job came through, and we only had one bed. So it's me and her sleeping together, going to bed, waking up, everything together. And it's just something that we both were so used to. So now that, and I'm glad he came at such a young age, because she was really young. But now that he came in the picture and was like, okay, well, I'm here, so it can't be 3 people in the bed.
Yeah, not at all.
No, you can. Listen, my wife had this very, very similar situation, and my son is 8, and he still has a hard time. Like, he goes to sleep in his own bed, but I can't tell you how many mornings I wake up, and there's 3 people in my bed.
Yeah, that happens to us sometimes, too. Like,
it's, I mean, in terms of, like, all night, like, us 3 all night, he wasn't having it. So it was definitely a hard pill to swallow when it was time for me to have her sleeping in her own bed for the both of us. I'm crying because she's crying because she wants to be with me, and he's just like, both of y'all are getting on my nerves.
I gotta work tomorrow.
And the thing is, like, when it comes to that stuff, like, if you let the children do things like that, and if you don't set that boundary and you establish their own space, they'll overrun you and they'll overrun your relationship. And they won't care about it. They're getting the attention that they want. So, by you establishing them in their own space and them being comfortable in that space and, establishing some type of independence within them, it's beneficial for everyone, because at the end of the day, yes, this is our child. We love her, but we need our space too. And then we, let her know, like, look, we gave you your attention. We took you to the park. We gave you ice cream. Go in your room, stay there. This is, our time. We have to set those boundaries, because if we leave it up to her, there would be no us. So go in there, go to sleep. Don't come out that room, because this is our time. And every time you come out that room, you're invading. So those boundaries need to be set even with the children. As much as we love them, you can't be around all the time.
Saturday, she comes in the room around 6:30 in the morning, and then we got 3 people in the bed, and we'll just that time we'll just leave it. So she'll be spinning all around, and you'll just hear Shamoir like, stop moving, because we both don't want to like say go back into your room, because we're still asleep. So we deal with it, and we're like, sleep up a little bit. We don't know what we're doing, but we're like, stop moving.
Listen, I know. My son had a move where he likes to get into like fetal position.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, he'll shoot his feet out straight, right into like the small of my back. I'm like, dude.
She does. Oh my gosh, she puts her elbows, knees in my back.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Like, I'm gonna have like a sciatica issue. If you. And my wife is she's very short. She's very small, like petite. So I guess it really doesn't bother her, because she's used to having him in the bed. I lived by myself for like 10 years. Before I met my wife. So it was a big change for me.
Sure.
And we got him his own room, his own bed, but he's used to being very close in proximity to people. He doesn't even like playing in the room by himself. He likes being in the living room with everybody. I think that might be a cultural thing too, especially like with Cubans. Everybody's together all the time. Yeah. So, but I think for me, it was the biggest adjustment.
Yeah. She's a lot better now. She sleeps in her own bed. She goes right to sleep. The only problem is she does play in her room alone, but we go in there and it literally looks like a tornado.
Yeah. No, she's a child.
It's worse.
That's gonna happen.
It's not toys all over the place. It's water.
She pulls the curtains down.
Water
oh my God.
In everything.
She's a little chemist.
I don't know what the issue is, but when I go in there, I see she has a kitchen set. The sink is filled with water in her bubbles and Play-Doh, and it's just like a concoction of stuff. And I'm like, how? How did this happen?
Let me ask you this. Have you had this scenario happen where you go in, you find something destroyed, and you say, how did this happen? I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't know? You're the only one here. I didn't do it.
We sit there and we don't let her go until she tells the truth. I'm like, and we stress the importance of telling the truth, because we sit there and we're real mean and we're mad. But when she tells the truth, because of the fact that you chose to tell the truth, all right.
Yeah.
You know, because that's commendable.
It's like the positive reinforcement.
Exactly.
Right,
You know, I'm not gonna spank you now. You know, because you chose to. And we want to, you know, instill that virtue in her. You know, and she responds really well to it. So
there's some disasters that she does that's actually really cute. Like, we didn't know we closed the door, and we closed our room door. The back of our room door is like filled with stickers.
Yeah, little
Just a
pony
bunch of
stickers.
Pony stickers everywhere,
and it
it's
looked
like,
nice. I was like, you know what? That's not bad.
Right. So it's like, I see that you did that. It's better than crayons. We'll just leave it.
Yeah. My son had that thing before they moved up here. The stairs in their house were all just like Super Mario stickers and like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh man.
He's like, he used to show his grandfather, look, this one's for you. Say, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, people.
Right.
Yeah, kids are great, and you know it's great because I didn't have any children of my own until I got with her, and I adopted and inherited this child. You know,
Let's get into that specifically because me and you have similar situations.
Yeah.
So, give us the little backstory.
It was extremely difficult in the beginning, and I told her this all the time. And you know, just as a man, you know, for me in the beginning, I told myself, I'm like, look, I am never going to date a woman that has children, you know, but I guess, you know, God had other things in store. And, you know, that was a preference. Preferences change, you know, so, well, at least depending on, you know, the type of person you are, the type of person you want to be, you'll change your preferences. You don't want to miss out on a good opportunity, you know, for, you know, something small that's manageable. And then, you know, she had a kid and I was just like, you know, it was rough. And then, you know, I remember, I'll never forget, she brought me over to her house one time, and then she left, you know, Ariana downstairs with me. And then Ariana was just looking at me with these eyes like, who are you? And I'm sitting there looking at her like, who are you? And then
She was like 1.5.
yeah, it was just such an unfamiliar, it was such strange territory. And then, you know, just as a man, it was difficult for me because of the fact that you're another man's child. And, you know, it's almost like, you know, lions in the wild. They don't like other lions' children.
Yeah, well,
you know?
I mean, in the wild, they
don't
usually,
like that.
They usually eat the other lions.
Yeah, I'm not going to eat her, you know. I'm not going to harm her, of course not. But
I trust that you won't.
Yeah, accepting, you know, was a little difficult in the beginning, you know. But as I, you know, got to know her, formed a relationship with her, played with her, you know, now I've fully accepted her as my own, you know, to the point where, you know,
They leave me out.
Yeah.
I'm like an outcast.
Yeah.
Me and my stepson do the same thing with my wife.
I'm like, hello, I'm here.
Yeah.
See, when I first met my stepson, he just turned 5, and you know, I went down to Miami. I was visiting, and my wife was in the shower, and then he had just gotten dropped off at the house. So he came up in the room that I was sitting in, and he says, "Oh, are you Steve?" I said, "Yeah, that's me." And he said, "Oh, can I show you something?" I said, "Sure." And he had a little Ninja Turtles game on his iPad. Because you know what this is? That's Ninja Turtles. That's Leo, Donnie, Mikey, and Raph.
He was like, "Oh my god!"
And I think in his little mind, he's like, "Oh, this guy's okay now."
Yeah.
You know? So it works like when you find like the bond with the kid.
Their relationship was honestly, I don't know if it was funny, awkward, or I don't know what it was, but watching their relationship unfold is I can't even explain it. It was, originally we were like friends, so the first time he saw her, I used to have her doing tricks, like she would I used to have her stand in my hand because she had a strong core, and she would put her arms up in the air like a cheerleader, and she just loves to show out. So they seemed like they were cool in terms of the athletic aspect of it, but when we started, you know, getting closer and she's seeing him a little more often, they're seeing each other, it was so awkward. He didn't know, like, do I hold her hand? Do I, if she's doing something that she's not supposed to be doing, should I say something? It was like that line where he didn't know what to do. And then,
so I didn't say anything. Like, I see her, you know, burning the house down. I was like, oh well.
and
Not my place.
Not my
place
problem,
to
you
say
know?
anything.
And she was like, do I go to him? Is he going to pick me up? Because she, you know, she's almost 2 at the time. So she's still like in that picked up stage, still, you know, half diapers, half panties, just, you know, in that growing stage. So them two was just really awkward watching. And then I don't know what happened, but literally they became real life daughter and a father bond. Like, it was just crazy to where she goes to him. We come in the house, Shamoir, and I'm like, Mommy is here. Mommy's here too.
I'm here too.
Mommy's here. And just like watching them, he's putting her to bed and he's telling her, no, don't do that. Now I'm just watching like how everything unfolded. It was amazing just to see how someone can be so selfless to, take on another man's child and just be the best father he can possibly be for that one kid. It was just a blessing for one, and it just made me love him even stronger for two.
Let me ask you this: how do you guys handle situations where she has to be like disciplined? Because I know that's tough for a lot of like step parents. A kid's inevitably going to do something wrong.
Yeah.
What do you do? I mean, because back in the day, you hear about the step parents used to beat the kids and stuff. Like, no, like it's 2019. We know that's not going to happen, at least for reasonable people.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you guys have like a line?
I mean, we split it pretty evenly. Depending on the severity of what she does. Like, because if I have to pop her, I'll pop her. If I have to give her a little spanking, I'll give her a spanking. Because of the fact that I think it's easier because I got her so young. So she's in these developmental stages where it's crucial. That window of about 2 to 4, 5. If you don't instill the things that you want to instill by that window, if you miss it, it's probably a little bit too late.
Yeah, you're gonna have a real hard time.
Exactly.
She knows what she can get away with him, and she knows what she can get away with me.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, I'm always like, "You better not do that. I'm gonna tell Shamoir." No. So it's like a lot of times you need that male figure because. Let's be honest. Growing up, you didn't want your dad to know you did something wrong because dad is like the disciplinarian and mom is the nurturer. Yeah. So, I mean, I do discipline her, but there's times where I should discipline her and I don't.
She has to get on
and
literally her last
me.
nerve. And then she'll give her so many warnings. And, I will too, because at the end of the day, she's just a kid. I don't want to stop her from being a kid. They're going to do things that get on your nerves. So I'll stop it. Listen, you're not listening, so, and then after a while, I don't give her too many warnings. She'll give her 10 warnings before she does anything. I give her about 2. And, sometimes depending on the severity of what you do, you get 1. And if it's something that's extremely crazy, I'm just snatching you up right there, and of course it's not excessive. I'll never harm her because I genuinely care for her. Yeah. I genuinely care for her and her development. And that's all it's about, so.
It's tough because you're lucky you got Ariana at a younger age.
Yeah.
Like for me, by the time I actually became my son's stepfather, he was already 6 years old, 7 years old, excuse me. And, he had a much closer relationship with his biological father. So I'm definitely coming in on the later end here. And there's certain things that I don't feel comfortable with doing or saying.
Like what?
So, like showering, I was very weird with at first. Like, listen, let your mom or your grandparents shower you. Like, I'll read to you in bed, whatever you want to do. But you guys do that. Like that may not be appropriate for me. I don't know where the line is, and I know it's just easier this way.
Honestly, I'm still there.
Yeah,
when it comes to the showering,
that's weird
because she's not my biological daughter, and the thing is, she's a girl,
Yeah.
And it's nothing crazy. It's not like anything wrong or perverse is going through my mind. It's
you don't even want to leave that that room there.
So I would just rather her do it. I don't mind if I have to. I'll wash her up and stuff like that, but I'll give her the rag, and I'll be like, wash yourself down there. Just because it's just I get what you're saying though.
Yeah, like some parents, they shower with the kids, and it's fine. It's your kid. But I don't feel comfortable doing that. Like, no, man. Like, you let me know what you need. You want me to throw you a towel? I got you. I'm here as soon as you're done. You get out.
Yeah.
I'll help you do your hair. I'll show you how to cut your nails. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But
it's not. I do most of the grooming of the child, but times where I'm working or like I'm just completely not in a position to be able to do it. He will step in and do it for me. Yeah. And because she's so young right now, it's not, I don't feel uncomfortable because I know him.
Yeah.
I know that there's nothing, to be worried about in this type of situation. And when I come back, she's always clean, smelling good. She's not a little snotty-nosed little girl anymore. And I can get some rest.
It's tough because with kids too, you really got to, you can't. Sometimes it's hard to just trust. Like, hey, you washed everything right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did. Yeah, let me smell you. Come here. So you still smell like the same sweaty little kid I picked up at the park. Like, don't lie to me. Don't lie to me, boy.
Yeah.
You better get back in there and wash your ass.
She's not completely there yet. She's still learning how to wash herself.
That's
so
where
that's
they're
where
still
it's
learning.
Exactly. So that's where it's like, if I'm not able to do it, he can't just let her go in the water by herself.
Because nothing will get done.
Yeah. And then you just the fact that, you know, some kids, this is a little of a bit of a stretch, but some kids end up drowning in the water by themselves, so small, you know, still learning how to take baths. So it's just he's dealing, and I'm thankful for it. So
it's good. It's good that you're willing to step up.
Yeah.
Because I know there's plenty of guys that are in the stepdad shoes, and it's just like, hey, listen, that's your kid. I'll help you pay the bills and all, but like, what do you want from me?
Yeah, no, you can't do that.
You can't half-ass it.
Yeah. Because
the kid's going to see that.
And it'll affect your relationship with the mother.
Absolutely.
You know, because, you know, she expressed to me when we first got together, she was like, look, I'm a package deal.
Yep.
You know, so she was like, you know, you can't love me and, you know, treat my daughter like crap. Definitely. And, you know, of course, because I understand that thing happens.
It
you know,
does.
but there was an adjustment period between me and Ariana, you know, and it did take some time, but, you know, it's fine now, you know.
You would not, people like, we went out to eat, and this lady went up to him and was like, she looks just like you.
I've gotten that too. Really? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I mean, we're
and I was
all
like, see,
the
I
same
told you
complexion.
she looks like me.
We're all the same complexion, so it doesn't seem like we're not a family at this point. It doesn't seem like, you know, he's not her biological father anymore, because their bond is so tight, so close, because she was so young. I don't know how she would be growing up knowing that she has a stepdad and, you know, a biological father when she's so close to the both of them. It's like she's a daddy's girl for both of them.
Yeah.
So just watching her grow, and it'll be an interesting experience.
Well, a lot of times, she's young, so that's going to get normalized for her. Like, for me, my parents divorced when I was 3 years old, and my mom remarried only a year or two after that. So I've had my stepdad since I was in kindergarten. So I've grown up with him being there in my life. He's always been there. So that was my normal. It didn't seem weird. I didn't feel like I'm traumatized in some way by it. Like, I just had two dads.
Yeah.
Just one extra gift I had to buy on Father's Day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were both part of my life. I mean, in different ways. You know, I have mad love for my stepfather. He was really a good guy, and he already had a daughter too coming into the marriage. So it kind of helped. Him and my mother were on the same page.
Yeah.
So I was like, listen, we each have our kids. Like, we're gonna make the best of it.
Same situation. My parents got divorced when I was 2, and I got a stepdad when I was a little older. I was about 10, going on 11. So I already established a relationship with my real dad, which was kind of rocky. And my stepdad had kids as well, who were a lot older than I was. So it was like he's starting over with me.
Gotcha.
And because of his situation with his kids, it kind of had him pull back a little bit from me, because he didn't want to get hurt. He didn't want to deal with, you know, me kicking him to the curb anytime my real dad came around. So it was a little bit of a learning experience. But literally, he's the best father figure I've ever had in my life, and it's weird because him and Shamoir are almost exactly alike.
That's actually not that weird. A lot of times we end up. Well, I mean, I think people just end up with people like their parents because that's what you grew up with. That's what you know.
Yeah.
So if you had, you know, a dad who did X, Y, and Z, you're likely to be attracted to a guy, or at least settle down with a guy who does that same X, Y, and Z.
That was my first relationship. It was a fail. Second one, him and my stepdad, who my stepdad treats my mom like an absolute queen. And they're like so much alike, it's ridiculous. Their birthdays are 2 days apart.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They're both Pisces. I'm like, how? How is this happening? But it's a really good experience.
Yeah.
That's good points for you, buddy.
Yeah,
We're scoring some points today.
I'm trying. You know?
So, I mean, you said something too, like with your stepfather, how he kind of pulled back a little bit because he doesn't want to feel like second fiddle when your real dad comes around. I know that feeling.
Yeah.
It sucks, and it's the little kids, so they don't know. They just know that that's their dad and you're your dad, but it hurts. It hurts a little bit. It's like that reminder. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not the most important guy.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I told him to look out for that because I did that to my stepdad. My dad came and I was like, Mr. A, who? Like, what? I'm going to my dad. But it wasn't intentional. I was a little kid.
Exactly. You're a kid. You don't know better.
So I just wanted him to be like, it's a possibility.
Yeah, be aware.
And it doesn't mean she loves you any less because I don't love my stepdad any less.
Yeah. But I say, like, with our situation, it's extremely similar, but it's a little different because of the fact that, for one, I got her so young and I spend, majority of the time with her. So, regardless of if that was to happen, yeah, of course it would hurt, but I would understand, because it's like, in a sense, she does take us for granted. Like, like when we do drop her off with her father, she's like, okay, bye guys, but when she comes back and she leaves him, she's a hysterical mess, because she doesn't see him as frequently. Most of her time is with us. We're her foundation. So she's like, okay, they're always going to be there. So it's like, when you go on vacation, you don't want to come back. Like, so that's why it doesn't bother me too much. But, maybe when she's older, maybe if she does start to lean that way.
When she's older.
I probably will feel some type, but I'll understand. So.
I mean, look how Alexia's talking about her stepfather now.
Yeah,
as an adult. You realize the sacrifices that they made and, what all the work they put in for you.
Yeah.
When sometimes our biological parents didn't. My stepdad's been there. My stepdad, he treats me like I'm his own flesh and blood. So I have nothing but love for him.
Yeah.
We might not agree on everything, but he's a good man, and he looked out for me.
Yeah.
So it's a lot about putting in the work early and then just being patient, because it does pay off down the road. Yeah. Especially if you're really there and you do your job as a parent. Like, they'll understand, especially when they have kids too.
Right.
Me and Ariana's biological father had a conversation when we first met. I was like, look, I don't want it to be any animosity or anything between us. It doesn't have to be that way. We can go about this like adults. And I was like, at the end of the day, I understand, the situation that I'm coming into. And I was like, I just genuinely care for the development of this child. I want to play my role in making her the best, most productive person that I can. So if we can, agree on that, then there should be no problems.
And he was okay with that.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because you have to trust that the other person's going to keep up their end of that bargain.
Yeah,
which often doesn't happen.
Yeah, and I don't want to take his place in her life. I understand I'll never be able to do that. At the end of the day, I just want to play my part. And if say for instance, God forbid, he does choose to do what some biological fathers do when they have someone who took that responsibility away from them. They choose to step back a little bit. Should that happen, I'll just be here, open arms, like, to be able to pick up the slack.
You have to make the kid feel like you're going to look out for them the same way
exactly.
their biological father would.
Yeah.
And you have to do that even if it's a thankless job sometimes. Because then if that day does come, then she's already covered.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, it's all connected, especially what we were talking about before, like when the kid falls and you want to run and pick them up. You need to be the support system for the kid. You don't always have to protect them from failure and from getting hurt, but you need to be there to support them and help teach them how to pick themselves back up. And I think that's such a tough balance for a lot of parents too, because nobody wants to see their kid get hurt.
Right.
No one. And when a lot of girls, she can attest to this. A lot of girls growing up, when they have that rocky relationship with their biological father, like, it does damage.
Oh yeah.
And they carry that with them, into every relationship. Like you said, they go to the people that they're used to. Well, they are attracted to what they see, so if they see, their father, out here being a dog, and they end up with a dog, and that's just what happens.
I call it the player's curse.
Yeah.
Well, hear me out with this. I have like a theory. Maybe it's like a little pseudoscience BS, but I don't know. I think that this is true. A friend of mine talked about this years ago, and I really thought about it. I think it's valid. When you're born, okay, obviously you come out of your mother, so there's a almost like a real physical bond there that can't be broken. That's your mother, no matter what. No one's ever going to take her place.
Yeah.
But your father, because that's like the first person you meet in the world, aside from your mother. So that's your foundation for how you meet everybody else after that. That's your foundation for every relationship you're going to have the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right.
So if your father, who is your rock, that's your bedrock there, if he does things that aren't right or sets bad examples or is just like a negative impact on your life, that's going to filter out into every other thing.
Yeah.
So if you see, that's why you hear people talk about girls with daddy issues, quote unquote. You know what I mean?
Hi, my name's Alexcia. And I have daddy issues.
Welcome. We have coffee and donuts over here. The
Keep coming.
The group will be seated shortly.
Coming.
You don't have to speak on your first night if you're not comfortable. But yeah, I think that's where that idea comes from. I think that's a legit thing.
Yeah.
So as a father, that's a huge responsibility. You know what I mean? Because you have to really teach a child as a human being how they should expect to be treated, what they deserve as another human being, and what they should expect from other people. So
I was actually writing about this, and I called it my first heartbreak.
Okay.
So my father was the first man to break my heart, and essentially he's the one who set the precedent on how I, view relationships going forward, which is what you said. He's the first person. He's the first man I started this roller coaster up and down relationship with. So now it's accepted, because when my dad does something wrong to me, he apologizes. I accept him because he's my father. It's a normal now for me. So now when I enter these relationships and we have this roller coaster relationship, and you break my heart, you tell me you're sorry. If I can accept my father, I can accept you, right?
Exactly.
So he didn't train me on how I'm supposed to be treated by a man. He didn't, help me understand the interactions between a male and a woman. He messed up the protection, the sense of security. So now I'm searching for that in men that, see that I'm broken, and they feed on that. And that's, I think, what happens to a lot of other women. We are looking for something that we were missing with our father. And
Yes,
now
definitely.
we're on this down roller coaster. We're just going down, and we're accepting of anything: manipulation, narcissism, just
Mistreatment of all kinds.
Yeah.
insecurities. Because your father leaves, you have this subconscious feeling like, was I not good enough for him to stay?
Well, it leaves a hole, it leaves a void.
So it's like,
and you spend your life looking to fill it, right?
exactly. And that's what a lot of fathers, they don't realize that they do to their daughters when they leave, or they feel like it's okay to leave and come back and leave and come back. They don't realize the future issues that child is going to have. And I didn't even realize how bad it was until Shamoir brought it out of me when we were sitting on on our steps, and he was asking me, about the relationship with him. And I really talked about my relationship with my dad, but he was just, oh gosh, he was just so relentless in asking me these questions, and it just literally broke down. And that's when I realized, okay, yeah, you got daddy issues, girl. You got some issues. So
a good partner will make you re-examine things that you never even thought about before.
Those things, they need to be confronted.
Yeah.
Because I used to think that girls needed their father more so than boys. But no, both boys and girls need their father just as much.
Definitely.
Because if the father doesn't provide the model for the daughter, she's going to be susceptible to all kinds of mistreatment. She'll take anything because she doesn't know. She doesn't know, the standard hasn't been set as to how she should be treated.
Well, actually, the standard has been set.
Well,
and it's been set low.
It's very low, very low. But she'll pretty much just, take anything because of the fact that he didn't establish that sense of value, that sense of worth within her. And if for boys, even if you have a father and he's not doing the right things, if you see your father, messing with so many women and not being committed to your mother, you're going to think that's okay. And then you're going to go and continue that. And you're just going to add more nonsense to the world that it doesn't need.
Absolutely.
So that's why my father was a rolling stone, like literally the definition of a rolling stone. He had, so many kids, so many different women. And, I just noticed, the feelings and how my house was. I asked my mother, I'm like, my father was Spanish, so I called him Poppy. I'm like, why doesn't Poppy live with us? And then she told me, like, oh, yeah, well, Poppy, he has his own family. He has a wife that he lives with. So he just comes to see us when he can, and she was okay with that.
And she just said it like it was the most normal thing.
Yeah, but I could tell, that she longed for more. She
Mm-hmm.
wanted to marry him. She wanted him to live with us, but she understood the situation, and she just knew that would never happen. So therefore I'm like, and I felt, that longing in her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I wouldn't want to do that to anyone. I wouldn't want to do that to a woman. So even, being presented with the visual of a father who did the wrong things, it made me decide for myself that I want to do the right things.
Yeah.
I want to have a family, I want to be married, and I want to be there, and I want to play the role that I'm supposed to play so that I can create some productive, God-fearing, responsible human beings that contribute to what's good in society and not bad,
It seems like there's two ways a kid can take it. They can either internalize it and end up just repeating that cycle. It's like they take the trauma that they lived through and just pass it down to the next generation. Or they could take it and decide, I don't want to be anything like that, and just make it their, life's goal to fight against it.
Exactly.
I did both. I saw my dad was not the best in terms of being a good husband, and I still went with the man that was like him, knowing that, my stepdad came in my life when I was like 10, 11, and he was amazing to my mom, but I still didn't go that route because I don't know what it is. It's just
It's subconscious.
Exactly. I went with the one that was like my dad, and it took me, I had to get like literally burned and left by myself as a single mom to realize, oh shoot, this is not right. I think I do need to go the route that my mom went. And then he just, showed up.
So we're at like an hour 15 right now.
Oh, wow.
Ciao.
So
I mean, I'm good.
well, speaking on that topic, there's a quote that I posted this the other day, but I think it's really applicable here. Is that the most important thing a father can do for his children is to love their mother.
Absolutely.
I think that affects everything. And if you can do that, if you teach your children, you let them see how a man should treat a woman, how a real healthy relationship should be, it's going to set them up to have healthy relationships in their life.
Absolutely.
So true.
And like, with me and her, being that we have, a child that's in the area just constantly watching everything that we do, I'm always loving on her anyway. I'm always showing her affection. I'm always talking to her. We're always laughing. So she always sees us laughing and having a good time. And I always treat her respectfully. And of course, she's seen us have disagreements, but we also make sure that she always sees us resolve them.
Yes.
Because couples fight. They're going to fight. Like, that's inevitable. And you can't say, well, the kid's here, let's not talk about it, because that may not, might not be able to do that at the moment. So, I mean, if you can just handle the situation appropriately and then just make sure that you resolve it so that she see that, she'll be like, okay, well, they're going to disagree, but they always worked it out. And, that also it'll help your relationship as well, because you're going to fight, you're going to, hate each other. But then once you come back together, and you'll come back stronger. It's just like going to the gym. You go and you tear those fibers, but once you're all healed up, those muscles come back bigger and they're stronger than they were before.
Definitely. Let her see the resolution.
Exactly.
I mean, obviously, you don't want to be screaming and yelling in front of her.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But you let her see that sometimes when there's disagreements, you have to work it out, and then everything's love after that.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, I got to commend you guys. You guys seem like you really are, very mindful of the communication between couples.
Yeah.
Like, you guys, if there's problems, you seem open about talking about them. And I think that's, a lot of people aren't that open with their partners. So I give you guys a lot of credit.
Thank you.
And I wish you guys nothing but the best.
Appreciate it.
So, I mean, not like I'll never see you again.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you also for letting me record with you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for
Of course.
inviting me and letting me talk.
Yeah.
Gotta have both sides. All right, people. Thanks for tuning in. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, suggestions, anything you want to know, hit us up on our email at APodAmongstMen@gmail.com. We're on Twitter and Instagram at APodAmongstMen. Leave us some comments, follow us, and we're available on all podcast platforms. iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, you'll find us. So until next time, peace.